Hey folks, I'm Rick Wilson. Welcome back to the Enemies List podcast from Lincoln Square. I want to thank everybody for listening, as always. And for those of you who are new to the show, and we've been growing, so I want to just welcome you guys with what the purpose of this show is. A few years ago, I was told you're on the enemies list for Trump. I laughed about it at the time, and this was shortly before I found out that Donald Trump had asked the DOJ to investigate the Lincoln Project and go after us and blah, blah, blah. The idea of an enemies list is an old thing in politics. It goes way back. We actually have some evidence that there were, enemies lists kept as far back as Greece, ancient, that is. And I think it's a tradition that sort of dropped off, that needs to be applied universally. We need to look at the people that are causing the destruction and the chaos and the cruelty in this country and name them. We need to not be shy about who they are and what they're doing. That's the purpose of the Enemies List podcast. And, for a while we did this with guests, but we've broken that format for now. We may bring some guests back in soon, but we've broken that format for now because each week there is some new excess, some fresh hell, if I may paraphrase Dorothy Parker, some person inside the vast constellation of terrible human beings around this administration who really need to be put on blast, who we need to be reminded who they are and what they're doing. We need to be reminded why their actions are harming your life or making the world less safe or making things more dangerous for Americans. We're going to have a twofer this week because the outrage of both of their actions is quite astounding. I'm going to start with Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff is Donald Trump's actual acting Secretary of State. Marco Rubio is not the Secretary of State. Steve Witkoff is. Trump likes having Rubio close enough to use him as the fall guy, but he trusts Witkoff with the big jobs. He sends Witkoff to the consequential meetings. He sends Witkoff everywhere a Secretary of State would normally go, where Marco would normally go. That includes meetings with Netanyahu. That includes meetings with Vladimir Putin. That includes meetings with the Chinese. He sends Witkoff. Marco is an afterthought, an echo, a hollow little man, desperately planning his 2028 presidential campaign because he's really not that busy otherwise with the Department of State. He is not running like 4 other government agencies, but Stephen Witkoff has a problem. And, I was raised in the South, and I was raised not to mock people for things they can't help, but I will, because I'll tell you something, guys. Steve Witkoff is not a bright man. Steve Witkoff is not a sophisticated man. Steve Witkoff is not a clever man. Steve Witkoff is not a man steeped in history or diplomacy or anything except being a real estate guy and a real estate lawyer and an investment guy. That's a skill in New York City and a certain set of zip codes in New York City that can make you very wealthy, that can make you very comfortable in your life, that can make you a lot of money, that can make you, be on various boards for big events and charity fundraisers and all that New York stuff. It does not make you a good negotiator. It does not make you a good diplomat. It does not make you historically aware. It doesn't make you strategically informed. As with many things in Donald Trump, he believes that a set of competencies that he likes, e.g., real estate development, is equivalent to a set of competencies that are necessary. It is why you've seen him put so many people from Fox News into his cabinet. He believes that the competency of looking good on TV either superior to or equivalent to the competency of governance. They are, of course, not. And Steve Witkoff is case one on this problem. Steve Witkoff has been meeting privately with Vladimir Putin. He took 3 pieces of bait that no sophisticated diplomat would have ever accepted in a million years. He and Trump are now having a meeting to determine the fate of Ukraine, a one-on-one principles summit. This is a huge award for Putin. This is a gift for Putin. This is a sign to the Russian people that Putin is powerful, that he can set the terms of a meeting with the president of the United States. So that's Witkoff's big mistake last week, number 1. That meeting should never have transpired. Vladimir Putin is a war criminal who every single night, launches attacks on civilian targets and exclusively civilian targets every single night. Ukrainian citizens die. And he has been found, there are warrants for this guy around the world. Vladimir Putin cannot travel anywhere except Alaska, except America, because Donald Trump has invited him because Steve Witkoff got played. Accepting that meeting alone was an unbelievable diplomatic faux pas, an unbelievable sign of weakness and capitulation and cowardice, because Donald Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize. He wants it so bad. And Steve Witkoff knows this. So Steve's trying to make this deal happen. The second enormous, unforgivable unforgivable mistake Witkoff made. He claims it was a translator error, that, quote unquote, both sides have to give up territory. What territory is Ukraine going to give up? Russia controls about 20% of Ukraine's land area right now. This war is slow and hard, and the Ukrainians have fought valiantly, but Putin has still been throwing millions of men. Over 1 million men have been killed now in this vanity, but they have captured a lot of eastern Ukraine. So Witkoff goes back, and he and Trump are fine with this. He's going to reward Vladimir Putin. Their terms of the settlement of this war is to reward Putin for his murderous war crimes and his unprovoked aggression against Ukraine. Steve Witkoff, as I told you in the beginning of this, is not a smart man, but he's also trapped in the Trump universe. And he knows that if he admitted that he screwed this up on this second tier point, he'd be fired. They'd put somebody else in the job. They'd find somebody else. There are two people in the world Donald Trump will never talk down to or about. He will insult everybody else. He will insult every other human being on the planet. He will piss on anybody. His minions will be directed to insult and attack anybody, including Medal of Honor winners. But Putin and Ghislaine Maxwell are the two people he just wishes them well. He wants them to do well. Should tell you a lot about who Trump is. Tell you a lot about what the stakes are here, folks. Should tell you a lot about why Witkoff, when he made this mistake, that the Russians were falling over with laughter, were dying, mocking him for being an incompetent and a boob. First off, you should never have invited Putin here. That's that again in point one. That is just so profoundly unforgivable. He should never have had a principals meeting. Point two, you should never reward Putin's aggression, which leads us to point three. Again, Donald Trump desperately wants to get a Nobel Peace Prize. He thinks that if he settles the war in Ukraine, even if it means abject misery and rewarding Putin, that he'll get a Nobel Peace Prize. Folks, he's never getting a Nobel Peace Prize. If you do this, if you say to Putin, hey, for the cost of 1 million men, you can break Ukraine. And you know what you break next? NATO. You know what he does next? Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Eastern Poland. Do you think for a moment that Vladimir Putin will walk out of a meeting with Trump being more restrained? Giving Putin a American-endorsed deal that dismantles Ukraine will not end the war in Ukraine. Putin will wait a year, 6 months, 6 weeks, and then he will plunge into Kyiv. Because this time he won't have to fight his way all the way through the eastern part of the country. Trump will cut off intelligence cooperation, arms, which he's already effectively done, as you know. But then he sets his sights west. Vladimir Putin, this old KGB guy, has a vision of the world. It is a vision that reassembles the old Soviet Union. It is a vision that reassembles the vassal states of Eastern Europe under Russian command. They have spent billions of dollars trying to influence the politics of Europe, trying to sell the most unpalatable possible brand in the world. Hey, join the Russian Federation and its new version of the Warsaw Pact, and you can have all the corruption and the murder and the oppression with none of the economic benefits of Western liberal democracy and free markets. But giving Putin Ukraine tells him, keep going west, keep pushing. The sword goes in until it hits bone. Steve Witkoff does not understand this because Steve Witkoff is a moron. Steve Witkoff is not a smart man. He is not a sophisticated man. He does not understand the stakes that are at hand here. He does not understand the risks he has put this country under. He does not understand the gift he has handed Vladimir Putin, because Witkoff's only constituent is Donald Trump. He's not representing America. He's representing Donald Trump. He's not representing our global position. He's representing Donald Trump's immediate political desires. Steve Witkoff would never be named as a negotiator in any serious effort, on any serious matter, far less in the most consequential diplomatic things that any administration could face, which is the question of war and peace in Europe. Witkoff's 3 mistakes just this week, and he's made many, many more, have put America in a dangerous position. They've put Putin in the catbird seat, and now they're going to go all meet in Alaska this week. I said this initially kind of jokingly, but now I'm wondering if I'm not like missing a potentiality here. There's a part of Trump that wants a big fat distraction. Guys, we've owned Alaska. We bought it from the Russians in 1867. It's an American state. Now, most of you probably do not follow Russian propaganda news every day. Julia Davis does, and she's amazing. You should follow her for sure. But the last few days, they've been posting all this stuff about Russian Orthodox churches in Alaska, and Alaska is Russian territory, and this and that. It is not out of the question that Steve Witkoff, not understanding the stakes he's playing for, not understanding the people he's playing against, and Donald Trump looking for any distraction away from Epstein, could really make a big mistake. So you guys are in Alaska. You know, the old "I can see Russia from my house" joke from Saturday Night Live, maybe coming true sooner than you think. The next person this week on the enemies list is a guy. If I could be somebody's nemesis, it would be this guy. If I could be somebody's nemesis that they lay awake at night with their eyes open, staring at the ceiling, sweating, thinking, "Oh God, Rick Wilson's coming," it would be Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This week, RFK Jr. cut $500 million of medical research into mRNA vaccines. mRNA vaccines are the cutting edge. Cures that are emerging from mRNA vaccines include little, hardly troublesome things like cancer. But RFK Jr. is a whack job and a conspiracy theorist and an anti-vaxxer and a lunatic and a liar and a heroin addict and a sex addict and an insane person. So they're killing all the mRNA vaccine research funded by the Department of Health and Human Services. They're killing it. How did he come to this conclusion? This is an interesting little side note. A lot of times in authoritarian systems, they pretend to keep the structures that used to exist before authoritarianism. There was a board inside of HHS called BARDA. It was comprised of medical experts, virologists, clinicians, researchers, immunologists, actual doctors. Now, BARDA still exists, but is now composed of anti-vax whack jobs, holistic healers, chiropractors, quacks, flakes, dipshits, lunatics, people who believe there are 5G chips in your COVID vaccine. So they killed it. Just as RFK trying to stop children from getting childhood vaccinations for measles is going to kill people. Because right now we're in the middle of the biggest measles outbreak since we cured measles, basically, until this moron came along. That's looking at technology of the past that he hates because it's preventing children from getting dread diseases. And no, RFK, raw milk is not going to cure the measles, and selenium is not going to cure the measles, and whatever woo and new age garbage you think is going to save these kids is not going to save them. But mRNA vaccines, and because some of the COVID vaccines are mRNA vaccines, they hate them. So they made up lies about these vaccines. Oh, there were terrible side effects. There were not. They were trivial. Oh, myocarditis didn't happen. You're lying. Oh, 5G chips. Insane. Because they hate vaccination as a rule, because they hate medical science that could save human lives and doesn't fit in with their weirdo, sit out in the field reeking of patchouli and failure mode, we're now going to foreclose American research on the most promising area of vaccine research and of medical research right now in general. There are, at this moment, programs being canceled that were researching the use of mRNA vaccines for cancer. Because mRNA vaccines, and I do not play a scientist on TV, and I'm not one, but because these vaccines are able to deliver finely targeted genetic information, they don't alter your DNA, again, another lie from these idiots, finely targeted genetic information that can target cancer, can target COVID, can target RSV, can target deadly diseases. We will not have those. They will hopefully be developed in Europe and Asia. The Chinese are investing trillions of dollars over the next 30 years in medical science, medical breakthroughs. They're going to live, but your family might not. Your family might not because RFK Jr. is one of the most horrifying examples of the sickness, the corruption, the conspiracy nonsense, the cruelty, the hatred that defines this administration. I do my best not to wish terrible things on people. I do my best not to poke the gods of karma. But RFK Jr. has thrown down a challenge to this country, whether you realize it or not. He doesn't give a shit if your kids die. He doesn't give a damn if your parents die. He doesn't give a damn if there's a cure for Alzheimer's out there that's right around the corner. If it includes a technology that his conspiracy crazies think is wrong, it'll never happen. They'll never approve it, even if it gets built in another country. This guy, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, once again, is a former heroin addict, a former drug dealer, a sex addict, a man whose first wife killed herself because of his rampant infidelity with prostitutes. There is nothing redeemable about RFK Jr. I don't care who his family members were. And all the other family members away from him can't stand him. This is a man who is overtly evil. Anyone who would say, we're going to kill off the most promising research against cancer, we're going to kill it off because some crazies, some holistic healers and chiropractors who are not virologists or immunologists or medical doctors or clinicians or researchers or geneticists or virologists, because a bunch of weird edge case online sociopaths that he's put in the job to assess these vaccines and assess these technologies have decided they're fine costing Americans their lives, costing families the tragedy of children and seniors and parents dying. Look, not every vaccine works. Not every medical treatment works, but we do the research to find the things that work. And mRNA vaccines have been working. They work well. They work better in many cases than the killed virus vaccines that have been around since Edward Jenner in 1765. But RFK Jr. is willing to watch you suffer, to watch your kids suffer, to watch your parents suffer, to watch your friends and neighbors suffer, whether it's measles, whether it's COVID, which is still out there, folks, whether it's H5N1, which they're covering up at the HHS right now by not allowing the CDC to report out on bird flu in the country, whether it's mRNA vaccines for cancer and other things. They're willing for you to suffer so that their conspiracy theory nonsense can be satisfied. When this administration falls, when Trump dies or is cast out or he loses, there must be accountability for these people. They are frauds. They are liars. They are quacks. They are going to kill hundreds of thousands of people. They're going to prevent lives from being saved. RFK Jr. is at the top of this week's enemies list. Steve Witkoff is a bumbling moron. I don't think Witkoff is evil actively, but RFK is. He is evil. He is a dark, evil force in this country. He is one of the most dangerous human beings to walk on this planet right now. Donald Trump has no sense of shame, so he's proud, happy that RFK is there. It was an interesting part of Trump's coalition. Got some of those weird health moms, the MAHA moms, as they called them. The phrase MAHA, make America healthy again, just putting sugar back in Coke is not how you make America healthy again. You also make America healthy again by pursuing the most aggressive and advanced scientific research in the world, of which American scientists are the best in the world. But now we're going to abandon that. And that's why RFK Jr. is on the enemies list, and he's going to stay there for a long damn time. Thanks, folks. We'll talk to you again next time.